Hey guys, today we're hauling a JLG 800 AJ boom lift. Today we are headed down to JLG manufacturing plant in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. We are picking up a boom lift. I think that's what they're called, a man lift. It's basically a platform on the end of a long arm, and then it's got a wheeled base to it. So we're picking that up. It is being exported to Chile. So we're going to take that down to the Port of Baltimore, go through customs, get our paperwork stamped, and then we'll deliver that over to where it's going to go on the ship. So Shippensburg is not far. It's about 26 miles down there. They start at 8, but if I remember correctly, there's always a line, so I'm leaving out early. See if we can get down there and get loaded up at a decent time this morning. Boy, this week has been a real joy. We had 2 loads cancel on Monday. We thought we had like $5 grand lined up at the beginning of the week through Wednesday, and they just gone like vapor. He's gone. So Monday, that was our experience. We have both of those loads canceled. So Tuesday we ran a load from the port in Baltimore out to Columbus, and that load worked well. And then we had a load lined up for yesterday. After we delivered to Columbus, we were supposed to be picking up a dump truck. The broker told us it was 26 feet long, and with dump trucks, 26 feet, wheelbase is probably 22 or so. So no problem going on my trailer with a 25-foot well. So I get there and we start loading this thing up, and it is way more than 26 feet. It's more like 30 feet or 32 feet. And the wheelbase was probably 26 feet. So there was no way it was fitting on the trailer. That was in Youngstown, Ohio. We had deadheaded all the way from Columbus to pick that load up, which is about 200 miles. And then it was no good. So we couldn't find anything else, and rather than sit in Youngstown where there is no freight and spend money for a hotel for that night and then end up deadheading home today, we just decided I had time. We're just going to bomb home and get home and see what we can find today from Carlisle, which is a lot more freight in this area. So that's what we did, and we found this load. We almost had 2 of them for Thursday and Friday, but that didn't work out. Somebody else snagged one. So we got this one going down to Baltimore. Hopefully we'll be able to find something out of Baltimore to finish the week. That's the hope. I actually have a funny story about a boom lift. When we bought the new trailer, the 55-ton trailer, we had been running a 30-ton RGN, a 2-axle RGN, for about 2 years. We finally pulled the trigger and bought this trailer. They called, said it was ready. The manufacturing plant for Pitts, which is the brand this trailer is in Pittsview, Alabama. So when the trailer was ready, we had to go pick it up. And I thought I would be smart. And instead of deadheading, bobtailing all the way to Pittsview, Alabama, picking the trailer up, and then deadheading all the way home, I figured I would work my way down, so find some loads, get me down close to Alabama, and then deadhead a lot less distance over to Pittsview And then we picked up another load just west of Charlotte that was a boom lift. But this boom lift, oh my gosh. So I get there, and they didn't want the mechanic to take 15 minutes to explain to me what was going on with this machine. I had to force them to let the mechanic come out and show me how to start it, because the wiring was messed up, and you had to jump the I forget the name of it. For a diesel, a relay, fuel relay. We had to jump the fuel relay and hot wire battery in order to get the thing to start. So the guy came out. Eventually, we got it started. I said, "Okay, I'll load this thing up." But it was old and well used, we'll put it, and kind of a piece of junk. So I finally get this thing loaded up. That was going down southern Georgia. So I take this down to southern Georgia to show up at this guy's house, because it was his. So the deal was, this guy was a then it moved from, you know, please pay for it to we're going to sue you. And so eventually we had to block them, you know, so they couldn't call us. So this went on for months, them threatening to sue us. We said, go ahead. You know, there's no way that's going to get upheld in court. So we knew it was all bluster. But anyway, that's my boom lift story. My nightmare of a delivery. But it shows you people don't really understand what it takes to run a piece of equipment like that. You know, this guy thought he could just buy it cheap and use it. Well, that piece of equipment, yeah, it's old, but it costs a lot of money to fix. You know, you got to get somebody in there that knows what they're doing in order to fix all the wiring on it. I don't know how much he ended up spending fixing it, but I'm sure it was a lot more than he would have paid to rent one for a day while the painters, or 2 days while the painters painted his house. And then they have no regard for, you know, the trucker who contracts to do this. And they just, I don't know, time is very valuable to truckers. Because if you're not, I have 5 days in a week to make money. So if I'm not driving, I'm not making anything. And even like this time I spent half an hour to get to a load. Like yesterday I spent 2 hours to get to a load. Actually it was 3 hours, 180 miles. 3 hours to get to a load. I burned fuel doing it. You know, just because you don't have anything on the trailer doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything to run your truck. But people don't understand that, and they think you should pay for everything because you're a business. Well, it's my wife and I that are the business. So anyway, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on running a truck. But I think I handled the situation well, thinking on my feet and pulling that record to get the load off because I was out of there before lunch. Whereas if I'd have kind of let it up to the customer there that was getting the delivery, I probably wouldn't have left that day. I'd probably been there all day, maybe the next day, waiting for somebody to fix that lift. And I'm not in the business of sitting waiting while other people do things. I'm in the business of hauling freight. So that's what I have to do. Alright, that's story time for this morning. Now let's go pick up this boom lift and get it down to Baltimore. Alright, just got here to JLG. We'll try to figure out what we're doing here. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, good, thank you. Your first name?
Cliff?
And I'm looking for a BT number.
BT. See what we got here.
Should start with like a 402 or a 401.
I don't think it's going to be on there. I have a serial number. I'm sure they have it on the rate con here. Sorry, I should have been more prepared here.
Oh no, that's okay.
I do not see a BT number. Okay, I found one.
Okay.
I have a BT 402151. So the last time I was here, it was probably, gosh, I don't even know, 5 years ago maybe. But all of this was actually across the street at the plant. They didn't have all their equipment for pickup over here. So this should really make it a lot faster. Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
I see the small one.
All right.
That one. Dock 7.
Dock 7?
Yep.
All right. see what we're getting. The JLG 800 AJ. You can see a little basket on the end. That's where all the controls are to run the thing.
Thanks, buddy.
You go? Can't film?
Absolutely.
All right, so we were all loaded up. I actually got shut down from recording. They don't allow anybody to record anywhere on JLG premises, so I was not able to record, you know, loading and chaining down and everything. But I will stop on the way to Baltimore, and I'll show you guys the machine, how it operates and everything. And then you'll be able to see unloading at Baltimore, I'm sure. So all is not lost. Let's head out and get some miles done. All right, guys, let's get out and look at this thing. So, like I said before, they didn't want me filming, didn't want me recording at the shipper. So now we can get out, we can look at this. So this is a JLG 800 AJ. So it weighs about 35,000 pounds, actually almost 36,000. You can see if you're at a construction site and you're working on stuff that's really high up, this thing will extend out. That boom up there will extend out, and it'll put that basket up. I don't know how far they go, probably, I don't know, 100 feet, something like that. So I'm sure you guys can look up specs on an 800 AJ and see what kind of reach they have. We can climb up here, take a little look in the basket. I can show you guys controls. So you can see you can control pretty much everything on this from back here. So when you're working on something, you're, you know, 50 feet up or 100 feet up, you can control all of this. This is a little foot pedal, so you have to have that activated in order to do anything with the controls, make it go forward and back, or, you know, angle the basket or anything. So it's pretty neat how they work. I don't know if I'll have to operate this to get it off, but I can show you guys that if I do. So there you go. So in doing my walk around, I noticed that my taillights aren't working. So I think it's probably a fuse. Had this problem before, so let's go check that out. See if we can get that fixed before we head on our way here. So here's the fuse panel. See what we got here. N20. I think that may be it. So that one looks okay. There you go. You guys That one is definitely burnt. So that is a 15. So let's see. I usually carry some spare fuses in here. Well, I thought I had spare fuses. Let's take a look up here. Aha! I knew I had some. I'm gonna go ahead and put these. That's where they should have been anyway. Alright, let's see if we can replace this. Get our taillights working again. Alright, let's go see if that did it. Hey, look at that. We got working taillights again. Good deal. Back up here, we'll get a picture of the truck. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's see how heavy we are. I know that this thing at 37,000 or 35,700 pounds empty, we are usually like 45.5. So, and that's full of fuel. So, loaded with around 3/4 of a tank of fuel. We have to be real close to 80, and we have to be real close to 34,000 on the tandems. It looks like we got an arrow. Still be over 80,000 by a little bit. We can still be over on our drive axles by a little bit, but it can't be much at all, if anything. So as we get up to the port here, let's kind of update you guys on what's going on. So we're delivering this boom lift down to the port. I had mentioned before that we almost got 2 of these. Well, the broker called this morning and said the other guy fell off of the other one that he had booked, so we ended up with that one too. But he wants it picked up today. So what we are going to try to do is get this thing delivered, and then once we're empty, we're going to shoot right back to Shippensburg there by 4 o'clock this afternoon and pick up the other one. And then we'll take that back home tonight and then get up in the morning and run it back down here to deliver tomorrow morning. So that's the plan. Hopefully it goes off without a hitch. Which, if judging by the rest of the week, you know, something will go wrong along the way, I'm sure. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. I think that was the quickest I've ever gotten my customs paperwork stamped. So now we're gonna head over to lot 200 and get this done. This is lot 200. All right, I'm gonna go get checked in. Let's see if we can figure out how to operate this thing. Now, a lot of them you have to start using a side panel, but let's see if this one's the same, or if we can start from back here. So let's see. Yeah, we got no juice. I think we have to turn it on up there. What's in here? Okay. Hey, now we got something. Okay. Well, in order to control it from the basket. Okay. That's. Hey, there we go. That needed pulled out. Okay, now we got her started. Let's see. Set you guys up like right there. you figured that out. There was a little collar you had to do. So that's one down. You'll have to forgive me for not filming, hooking the trailer back up, but it's snowing, it's windy, I'm real cold, so I just wanted to get it done and get back in the truck where it's warm. So, but you can see right over there, that's the one that was on our trailer. I had a heck of a time figuring out how to move the thing, but there's a little collar down on the bottom of the joystick that controls forward and backward movement that you have to lift up to move forward or back. So pretty simple, but if you don't know it's there, you know, and your brain is half frozen from being in the cold, then it takes you 10 minutes to figure out how to move the thing. But I got that figured out. The next one should be no problem at all. So that's where we're headed now. Back up to Shippensburg. I'm gonna pick up the next one and take it home. So let's go. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. We are here, but again, they don't allow any filming. So I will pull up here and then I'll have to turn you guys off when we load.
All right, brother. Same thing. Same
5?
exact thing.
All right, thank you. Alright guys, we got the second one all loaded up, so now we're going to take it home for the night, and then we'll hit it again in the morning, get it down to the port, and get delivered. So, let's roll out. Alright, we made it back. We got one of these lifts delivered. Another one loaded up. We will take it down in the morning, get it delivered at the port in Baltimore. And then I will be done for the week. Well, unless we find something to pick up on the way home. We'll see. Good morning, everybody. Well, this morning we are going to get this big old boom lift delivered. We're just doing our pre-trip, making sure everything's tight. Nothing needs adjusted this morning, which the other one we delivered yesterday rode pretty good, so I don't think we'll have a problem. The only problem I foresee this morning, see, taillights are still working, that's good. We had that problem yesterday. The only problem I foresee may happen this morning is at the scale in Maryland. But we have less fuel in the truck now than we did, so we should be a little bit lighter on the drives and gross. But the problem is that this thing weighs about 35, almost 36,000 pounds. About 35,700 is what they listed at. And my truck, empty, is about 45,500. So if you do a little math, you add those two together, you get over 80,000 pounds, which would mean that this would have to be permitted, but we have not permitted this load. So, along with being over gross, there is a chance that we are over on our drive axles by a little bit. The gauge in the cab, pressure gauge says 58 psi, 57, 58, which is right close to 34,000. And 34,000 is the max legal weight limit you're allowed on your drives without a permit. So, hopefully, we are not over 80, and hopefully we are not over 34 on that tandem. But we will find out. So, let's get in here and get going this morning and get this other lift delivered. Boy, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for spring. Tired of this cold. It's not as bad this morning. Yesterday it was 12. Today it's like 23, I think. Which is not as cold. It's still pretty cold. And I am good and ready for some warmer weather. What I hope happens this morning is that when the first round of people posting freight happens this morning, usually happens around 8 o'clock, there'll be some fresh loads out of Baltimore, and hopefully we can snag one maybe going north up to New York or maybe northern Ohio that we can grab today and then run out on Monday. That would be about perfect. Then there's no wasted miles even getting back home today. You know, we would just bring that home to the lot and then we'd be loaded for Monday morning first thing. So we'll see what happens. Probably wishful thinking. We'll probably be Monday morning staring at the board hoping something posts so we can work. Seems to be the way it's been here lately. But maybe not. The scale, so we might get lucky. Nope. us, and I guess we were must be under 80. Sorry, road's a little rough. Got you guys all skewed. You should see the line to get in this container port after lunch. They back up all the way down the road there. They go 3 wide, that's probably like half a mile or 3/4 of a mile deep. All waiting to get into the port after lunch. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that. I always go up here to Dundalk Marine Terminal. A little more laid back. Card. Thank you. See, that's nice. That's the way it's supposed to work. big deal that I had. So you have to have the paperwork in a certain order for these guys. And needless to say, this guy was wearing a mask and had latex gloves on to handle paperwork. But anyway, I didn't have it. I had the dock receipts and the invoices backwards. So he made a big deal out of telling me that I was wrong and made sure I knew the correct way to put everything together. So then he went through and he said I needed an AES ITN number and the forwarding agent name and phone number, which are not in anything the broker sent us. So the broker did give us the AES ITN number. We are still waiting on the freight forwarder name and phone number. So as soon as we get that, I can write it on the paperwork and take it back up to customs so they can stamp it, and then we will be good to go to deliver it over to lot 200. So I don't know why I had to have all this today, when yesterday I took the paperwork up and they stamped it and sent me over. But I don't know, maybe the guy yesterday was incompetent and this guy knows what he's doing, or maybe the guy today is just, you know, making a point. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, we're waiting until we get that information, and then we can deliver this thing. So that's where we're at. Alright, we're finally through customs. Now I'm headed over to lot 200. Alright, let's go get checked in here. So they said to go ahead and bring it in. So maybe something will go quickly this morning. just gonna walk over here and get my BOL stamped so we're all delivered, and then we can head home. All right, we are all done here at the port. Got that one delivered. There you can see there's the one I delivered yesterday, and then the one I delivered this morning sitting in front of it. So I am gonna head home for the weekend. I am all done for the week. I think I'm gonna stick you guys up on the windshield, and then maybe you can get a view across the harbor there at the container port. That's pretty cool looking. So I'll stick you guys up there, and other than that, we're done. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and please do like and subscribe below. We're almost at 500, so hopefully I can get monetized. You know, if I can make a little money off the channel, I'll invest it right back into equipment, and maybe we can make the videos a little better. Maybe get another camera, upgrade my computer because it's struggling with editing all of this. It takes me forever to do it. So maybe I can get another hard drive or a little upgrade. Maybe eventually get a laptop so I can do some editing while I'm on the road. But yeah, it'll all be right back into the channel to try and make it better for you guys. So please do like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.